make you laugh a lot. Please welcome Mr. Kerry McNally, Director.
Thank you, Lorraine. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know me, I'm Kerry McNally, the club's finance director. And for the last couple of years, I've emceed the function here for our annual mass luncheon. And this year, our new director, Lorraine Freeman, has volunteered to do it so that I can fully concentrate on the jokes and hopefully make them better than previously. First up, a free tip from Toastmasters. If you have to do a speech or tell jokes, just have a prompt sheet. Don't try and remember all the words. It gets confusing, especially when you get past 60. No, 60 years.
That's 5.
This fella is out celebrating his 20th anniversary with his wife, and they're in a nightclub, and the dancing's going, and there's this guy up on the dance floor. He's doing the break dancing and the moon dancing, and he's moving around, and he's having a great time. And his wife said to him, "That guy asked me to marry him 25 years ago." And the guy said, "Looks like he's still celebrating." In this world, there are people called efficiency experts. They study time and motion studies to try and improve everybody's efficiency. And he was doing a lecture one day at the class, and he said, "This time and motion study stuff is really, really good, but I don't suggest you try it at home." And they said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, I tried it at home. I told my wife she was going to the kitchen for a utensil, putting it on the table, going to the kitchen for the cereal, putting it on the table, going to the kitchen backwards and forwards all over. And it just wasn't efficient." So one of the people in the class said, "Well, did it work? Did you save time?" He said, "Yes, I did. I do it now in 7 minutes. It used to take her 20 minutes. There were some deer hunters in Alabama, where apparently they still hunt deers, and they paired off to go out into the forest hunting deers. And George and Harry, by the way, all my male main characters in these jokes are going to be called George because it saves me having to try and think of the names that were told to me when I heard the jokes originally. So it's George all the time. George and Harry, they go out, they pair off, they go into the forest. They had an agreement to meet back at camp after 2 hours. 2 hours later, George comes back, he's got a big buck over his shoulder, but there's no Harry. And they said, "What happened to Harry?" "Oh, he had a stroke or a heart attack or something back in the forest." "Why did you leave him there?" "Because I thought no one's going to steal Harry, but they'd steal the buck."
Terrible. Well, it doesn't matter. It's worth a laugh.
There's a dishevelled fellow who's sitting at the bus stop next to a priest. And he opens a newspaper, he starts reading the newspaper, and he says to the priest, "What causes arthritis?" And the priest said, oh, by the way, he was really dishevelled and he had the smell of alcohol. The priest said, "Drinking lots of alcohol, sleeping with harlots, and being untidy, unkempt, and no personal hygiene." And that fellow continued reading the paper. And the priest suddenly has a bit of remorse about being that way, and he said, "Oh, I was a little bit harsh with you, my son. How long have you had arthritis?" He said, "I don't have arthritis, I just read in the newspaper that the Pope had it."
Francis, eh?
Only arthritis.
He had the arthritis,
I couldn't get the bishop's approval. I didn't know that. This kid, he walks home from school every day. He goes the same way every day. And these older kids, these thugs, pick on him, bash him, and steal his money. He thinks this is not good. He goes to a martial arts class, and he goes to martial arts class for about 6 months. and he gets really, really good with the martial arts. So one day he decides, I'm going to go the old way and meet these fellas that used to bash me up and take my money. So he does. He goes the old way. He turns up at martial arts class the next day and he's got 2 black eyes. And the martial arts teacher said, what happened? He said, well, they jumped on me before I could get my shoes and socks off. This fella, let's call him George, comes back from Africa and he's got some sort of fever, some sort of thing that they can't really identify. So they give him all the tests and things and they put him in this ward, and the doctor comes to see him and he talks to him through the intercom system because they don't know how contagious it is. And they say to him, we've got this really, really contagious disease. I'm putting you on a diet of pizzas, pancakes, and pita bread. And the fellow says, will that cure me? He said, no, but it's the only thing we can get under the door. This other fellow called George, he's having a really, really bad marriage, financial problems to the hilt. He decides the only solution is to insure his wife and get her killed and collect the money. So his friends hook him up with this assassin called Archie. I don't know what sort of friends he had, but they hook him up with this assassin called Archie. And he meets Archie one day and he said, look, he said, I want to get my wife bumped off. I've taken out an insurance policy on her. And he said, it'll cost you $5 grand. He said, well, I won't have any money till I collect on the insurance. He said, all right, but I need at least a deposit. So George fiddles around his pocket, comes out with $1 in change and says, here's the deposit, $1. I'll pay you the rest after the job's done. So Archie follows his wife the next day into the supermarket, into the fruit and vegetable section, where he grabs her by the throat and kills her. And just as he's killed her, another customer walks around the corner. So he grabs her by the throat and kills her because he doesn't want any witnesses. The headlines the next day in the paper: Artie chokes two for $1 in Coles. Down. Oh, I forgot to say earlier, if I don't get a lot of laughs today, I could be clearing the tables next year, so keep that up. These fellas are at their local golf club in the changing room, and a phone rings on the bench. Guy picks it up, puts it on speakerphone. Woman says, are you at the club, darling? He says, yes, I am. She said, that ring I really liked, it's been marked down, it's only $5,000, can I get it? If that pleases you, yes, go ahead. And that car, that Mercedes, they wanted $98,000 for. He said, well, if you really love it that much, I want it with all the bells and whistles, but only offer them $90,000, I'm sure they'll take it. And then she said, and that house we're waiting for, it's on the market for $980,000. He said, don't offer him a penny more than $900,000. She said, okay. Then she hung up, and he said, does anybody know whose phone this is? Out in the country, a policeman pulls over a car for speeding. He started off in this new car, an old guy, an old guy with a new car, boom. He starts off at 120, goes up to 140, sees a police car behind him, speeds up to 160, then he decides, I'm too old for this, so he pulls over. And the policeman says to him, sir, I've only got 30 minutes left on my shift. If you can give me a reason I've never heard before, I'll let you go. He said, well, 30 years ago my wife ran away with a policeman and I thought you were bringing her back. Have a lovely day, sir. George was at his GP and he was saying how much his wife was going deaf. And the GP said, I'll tell you what to do, go up behind her when she's in the kitchen and ask her something and see how close you're going to get before she hears you, and then you'll know how deaf she is. So George is in the kitchen the next day. Shirley's making the dinner, and he says, "What's for dinner, darling?" No response. He goes a bit closer. "What's for dinner, darling?" No response. Goes a bit closer. "What's for dinner, darling?" No response. Gets her right behind her. "What's for dinner, darling?" And she says, "For the 4th time, it's roast beef." Do we all remember when we got milk delivered in bottles and you put the bottles out? Put your hand up, you remember? Don't be shy. And the crows would go through the top of
The dive, milk delivery.
If you didn't want milk, you'd leave a note for the milkman. I've got some milkman notes that have been left over the years. "Dear milkman, I've just had a baby. Please leave another one." "Please leave an extra pint of paralysed milk."
I'm trying to listen.
"Cancel 1 point after the day after today." "Please don't leave any more milk. All they do is drink it." "Milkman, please close the gate behind you because the birds keep picking the tops off the milk." I don't think the gate's going to keep them out. "Milkman, please could I have a loaf but no bread today?" "Please cancel milk. I have nothing coming into the house but 2 sons on the dole." "Sorry not to have paid your bill before, but my wife had a baby and I've been carrying it around in my pocket for weeks." "Sorry about yesterday's note. I didn't mean 1 egg and a dozen pints, but the other way around." "When you leave my milk, please knock on my bedroom window and wake me because I want you to give me a hand to turn the mattress." What the milkman had to do in those days.
Work hard.
"Please knock. My TV's broken down and I missed last night's Coronation Street. If you saw it, will you tell me what happened over a cup of tea?" "My daughter says she wants a milkshake. Do you do it before you deliver or do I have to shake the bottle?" "Please send me a form for cheap milk, for I have a baby 2 months old and did not know about it until the neighbour told me." Obviously the cheap milk. "Please send me details about cheap milk as I am staggering." "Milk is needed for the baby. Father is unable to supply it." "From now on, please leave 2 pints every other day and 1 pint on the days in between, except Wednesdays and Saturdays, when I don't want any milk." You'd have to have a university degree for that one. "My back door is open. Please put milk in fridge, get money out of cup in drawer, and leave change on kitchen table in pence because I want to go and play bingo tonight." "Please leave no milk today. When I say today, I mean tomorrow, for I wrote this note yesterday." "Milkman, please put the coal on the boiler, let dog out, and put newspaper inside the screen door. P.S. Don't leave any milk." And my favourite one, "No milk. Please do not leave milk at number 14 either, as he is dead until further notice." My one last joke, ladies and gentlemen, is I believe the funniest joke I've ever told, so they tell me. It's known affectionately as the Shawnee joke. A few years ago in my 20s, I used to go to a wine bar in Burwood called the Pilgrim's Tavern Wine Bar, and then it later became known as Reflections Wine Bar. Does anybody know that? It used to be in Burwood Road on the north side of the... I used to go there frequently, 7 nights a week at one stage. I had nothing better to do in my 20s.
Yeah, definitely.
I met this girl one night called Shauna, and we really got along well. We drank all night in the wine bar together, And then she asked me if I wanted to go home to her place for another drink. I said, yes, why not? So I went back to her place, had a few more drinks, and then she sort of said, you want to come into the bedroom and have a drink in here? I said, yeah, no worries, I'll drink anywhere. So we went into the bedroom, had a few drinks. As I walked into the bedroom, what I noticed was a great big bookshelf, and it was full of cuddly toys, you know, teddy bears, koalas, dogs and cats, all that sort of thing. All the little ones across the bottom, bigger ones, really, really big cuddly toys across the top. Anyway, I paid it no more attention. So we had a few more wines, and then before you knew it, we were in bed and we made love. And being a typical male, I had to turn to her and say, how was I? And she said to me, you can pick anything you want from the bottom shelf. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's loud enough. I don't have to do the dishes next week.
Top shelf, mate.
Thank you, Mr. Kerry.